Hello and welcome to the Business Octopus. How you going, Amanda?
I'm fabulous. Yourself, Haven?
Satisfactory?
We'll
Now,
take
I know
it.
that's, no, good, but that's like my standard answer because sometimes when people say, are you good? That's like just normal, but at least satisfactory gets a rise out of people. And then you go, there's always room for improvement. We're good, but there's always, I could be surprised. There could be something better. All right, so what are we talking about today? So how to train your team to be intrapreneurs. So what's an intrapreneur? Do you want to enlighten us?
My understanding of an intrapreneur is someone that takes the reins in a particular area of your business and treats it as if it's their own, like their own thing, their own baby. They take complete ownership of it. They treat it like a business owner. So they go, they experiment, they try things, they treat it as if it's their own business. I mean, I can't get more finer point than that. Avon, you want to extend on that?
Yeah, well, it's in the name. It's like an entrepreneur on the inside. So I think that normally, like, you get the employee mindset when you're hiring an employee, and they're the person that's like, I turn up, I do my work, I clock off, I'm done, I go home. Now, that's good. And, now in Australia, we've got the right to disconnect laws and things like that. And I think that it's probably more of a mindset of you want someone who's invested, just someone who cares a bit more than the next person. Maybe there's someone that's a little bit sort of skilled, they're a bit gregarious, they're a bit like outgoing, and not always, like sometimes people who are a little bit more, what's the word, internal in their thinking. And there's a word for it, I can't think of it. But basically, introvert, there we go. So definitely the opposite of you. So I think that if somebody is a little bit more thinking like business minded, then they're going to be able to make better decisions. They can look at the commerciality of it. They can look at come up with new ideas. They're excited to test and try things and, maybe fail a little bit. And if the business as a group or as the business owner gives them enough rope to do that to a certain extent, like Google, they created Intrapreneurs when they said you've got 10% time, which is 10% of the time you work on a project that relates to the company, but it relates to your passion or the thing that you want to achieve or a goal or a mission that you have. So you can't just go, I'm going to learn sheep shearing at Google. It's got nothing to do with Google, but maybe if they say, I'm going to build a sheep shearing app and it's going to help sheep shearers to get better prices for their things, great. Then that solves two problems. It might also unlock other ideas.
Exactly. And the magic there as well is you're helping them achieve something that's important to them as well. So it kind of works both ways, right?
But like even on these days when you go to university, they always throw in 2 random topics that you have to take because they want you to create enough variability in your studies. Because if everybody was siloed into things, no one would come up with any new innovative ideas. And I think half the value that comes with all these wild and crazy ideas is someone that's worked in that industry but is now doing something in this industry.
Absolutely. Yes.
Or someone that took an idea that they saw from, a little kid mowing the lawn on the weekends and applying that into an app or a program. There's hundreds of examples. Can't think of a single one at the moment. But the point of doing something a little bit wild and crazy, that's kind of what you think about as an entrepreneur is someone that doesn't follow the rules.
Exactly. We're not afraid to break some stuff, experiment, test, see what happens.
So I guess the key part, and we had a bit of a founder chat the other day. So in the Relevate community, we brought in an 8-figure founder to talk about their experience in global expansion, going into different regions and territories, building up a company into enterprise level business, rolling out software products. And basically one of the things was he identified a problem and he solved it. Like he found an issue that was a big enough thing that nobody else was looking at, but everybody felt the pain of it. And so by being able to go, hey, we can solve your pain point, we can reduce your risk, we can fix this problem. People gave him chances that no one else would give them. They basically got opportunities that no one else had because they're creating value out of nothing. And that's exactly what an entrepreneur needs to do.
Exactly.
So it does mean, pitching bold ideas and taking real ownership, like the idea that this person brought forward was to like a massive oil and gas company. And most people wouldn't get out of bed and go, I'm going to sell something to Rio Tinto or Deloitte or ANZ Bank. Like, that's not in most people's. They're like, where do I start? It's such a massive organization. Who do I speak to? How am I going to get to the right person? Am I good enough? There's massive hurdles in doing that. Mm-hmm. But an entrepreneur is someone who can cross the floor and shake someone's hand that maybe they thought they weren't worthy of doing. They're a little bit bold. They're a little bit brash. They're going to get things done. So tell me about ownership.
Ownership is taking complete ownership for a project, a department, or a part of the business. So making it your own and being accountable to it and responsible to it. So making sure that everything, like if you're setting KPIs or goals, making sure that you're tracking to make sure that you're hitting them in the time frame that you've set, not going, I'm just going to rock up, like you were alluding to before, here's my task list in my position description and just get that done. No. If you're an entrepreneur, you need to go, okay, well, that's what's expected of me. How am I actually going to show up so that I achieve the goal? And it may be outside of what your position description is, but you've got to be able to find the solutions, solve problems, and think a little bit differently to the employee.
So, I mean, not everyone's born with this. Like an entrepreneur has probably come up with an idea, seen a gap in the market. How do you train people to be like this? How do you train them to think about it, this sort of thing?
Well, that's exactly it. You got to teach people how to think. So I think the first thing is to encourage people to fail and make an environment where it's safe to fail. Because I think we're taught from an early age, that no, you're doing that wrong or that's bad. It's about going, okay, well, that's wrong. What did we learn from that? And how do we change it maybe 15 degrees this way so that we get a different outcome? So encouraging them to go break some stuff, to go and fail so that they learn as they go. Because if we just want people to get it right all the time, they're not going to expand their ability to think strategically or to solve problems.
Well, I think most of the time, big organizations run out of ideas. And so half the time, it doesn't matter that there's failure out there. It's just we're now getting more data back, more feedback from an organization. Maybe there was a market that we didn't know existed. Maybe there's a problem that we didn't know existed. And so it's only when you do that, because otherwise big organizations start to get really slow because they're driven by one passionate person that knows all of the things. Then once they get management in and the founder kind of like takes a step back, now we're reliant on people who are like following a script. So unless you have some other like creative input or some other data point to go, here's a new market, here's a new problem, here's something that nobody else thought of, you're just going to sit there with the exact same products and never innovate. So the giving people that room to create loss, risk, problems, failure actually generates new ideas, new understanding, more data back into the main organization to go, well, we spent this on that and it didn't work. And to your point about in our show notes and behind the scenes is financial literacy. Is if you give someone a project or even like in the project side of things, if you give someone an amount of time and say, you have to do this task in 2 weeks, it will take 2 weeks to do the task.
Oh,
but
yes.
If you say, compress it way down and say, you've got 2 hours to do the task, they will have to find a way to do the 2 hours. So by giving someone a budget as well to say, you've got, $5,000 and you have to prove receipts on where the money went. Now you're giving them the financial literacy of how do I actually make this happen? Go one step further with Intrapreneurs, not only give it a label, now give them equity And now they go, my invention drives this company forward. I'm going to make different decisions about, how I use company resources, because as the company makes profits, I'm going to get share equity and my valuation is going to go up. And so now people think totally differently. They think like owners instead of thinking like employees.
Exactly. And that's so valuable. What better way to get buy-in from people? They're actually taking control in the organization and also of their financial future as well.
Well, I mean, just to put another angle on it, I remember reading in the Army newspaper. And Army is public service. Yeah, everybody does it for the good of the country. They don't do it for their share price or anything like that. Some people feel stuck. They go, I signed up, I don't like it. Now I'm just waiting for my end of my term and then I'm out. But sometimes they have these little programs, like this one guy who got this $12 bracket. It was like a metal bracket inside the Defender 110, which is a Land Rover, little vehicle. And because what would happen is that in the engine bay, this little cable would sit there and vibrate because it's a big diesel engine and there's a lot of vibration, and these cables would break on a regular basis. And so he put this little bracket to hold it and stop the vibration or reduced it dramatically. And he saved something like $1 million in all of these cables being replaced over the course of a couple thousand vehicles over a year. And now we're talking, instead of like 20,000 of these cables being produced, broken every year, now we're only talking about like 2,000 or something like that. I don't know the exact numbers. Little things like that.
Yeah.
Wasn't getting paid any extra. He did get an award, and he got in the paper.
Nice.
I think he got like a $500 prize or something. These people are in the workshop, but he took ownership of the problem.
Amazing. That's a great one.
And so, you can you don't have to incentivize it by share price. You give someone the label of an intrapreneur, it doesn't actually make them one. You give someone space to think and do, and maybe make some decisions. That might make them an intrapreneur. You can then incentivize that with prizes, recognition. Some people want that, some people don't. Maybe there's something where you can have a few chats with people and say, this is my problem. How can we solve it? And you create that environment and that safe space, as you said.
Absolutely. So valuable.
You wanna make an omelette, you got to break some eggs. I'm going to go with eggs.
Yes, exactly. And I just want to come back to something you said earlier. I think there's a lot of value in cross-pollinating between industries. So if you think about, we work in a very specific industry over here. If we go and chat to people who are working in other industries, traditionally, I think we sort of hang out with people that do the same things that we do. But if we go and talk to and network with people in other industries, especially as entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs, we can see opportunities to solve our own challenges in what other people are doing, which is really powerful.
Just other perspectives and ideas, different cultures, different, thoughts, people that live different lives, like other perspectives. Like if you're stuck in your own bubble, they said that the saying birds of a feather stick together, that's all well and good. But if you've got, let's just say, for example, now that we've hit 250,000 subscribers on YouTube, we've got a new feature unlocked for us, which is AI language translation. Now, if you think about the world as a whole, there's over 8 billion people in the world. Only 20% speak English. So there's a lot of other people that are not English speakers. So if we can, bring in things that are maybe relevant for different cultures, just one small tweak on a product might then open up a much broader market that you would never have thought of if you didn't involve other people in the conversation. Certain things there was one case where I think there's been multiple cases. Someone rolled out a product in this country. It means, something fun and cool. Over in that country, it means dumb or stupid. I think there's been some very big products or broken, or I can't think of it right now, but there's been heaps of examples where they haven't just gone and, maybe test the market, do a little bit of a study. get some
Yes.
market feedback. So
Exactly.
small things can really add up to be something very big and powerful. And I think it does take other people who feel free to speak about that. Maybe if someone in the boardroom was very demanding and controlling and said, we're doing this, and then told everybody exactly how to do the thing, and then said, now what do you think? No one's going to speak up. I think,
No.
leaders need to speak last a little bit and say, here is the problem. I'm going to put it to the floor and I want you to bring forward some ideas. I'm going to speak at the end and I want everybody to come up with some kind of input to give value into the conversation. And then, like Pixar, they've got this plussing concept where the next person and the next person and the next person cannot take away from the previous, thoughts and ideas. They just have to add something. And then when they get to the end, they might go
more.
Yeah, so when they get to the end, they might start paring back, but at least they've been able to generate new ideas to go, oh, and it should have, this, and it should have that, and it should have, this character come running in on the screen on that side. Okay, we'll write that down. And the idea that's there is the big, everything, and then you might get to the end and go, all right, it's too much. Now, what do we take out of it to make it really good?
Exactly. And you're better off having too much than not enough, because if you don't explore the potential that's there, you could be missing out on something amazing. Excellent concept.
This is kind of like I have to live in analogies because I work in a complex field, and half the time when I'm trying to explain things to customers, the technical way is not really the best way. So this analogy kind of talks about, I guess, entrepreneurship, and probably like I think about a big dog and a small person, and they're walking together down a footpath. The dog wants to run off and smell everything, and is pulling the person off the track. The person wants to stay on the track, and together they have a much better walk because if the person just stayed on the track, they'd never go off and see anything. If the dog stayed off, they'd never be on the track and they'd never get home. And so together they actually end up with a much better outcome. So you kind of need that creative tension, if you will, in the business. Otherwise, it's just going to be stuck on the track or totally off track.
Exactly. Love that analogy. Well done, sir. Very good.
Sometimes I think I confuse myself, but if that shone through, that's good.
Great. That was great.
That's good. All right. I'll keep that one in there. I'm building a little book of them, so all good.
Coming next summer. Yes.
Sorry?
It's coming next summer. Keep an eye out.
Oh, the book. Oh, gee, no pressure then, hey. Well, I tell you what. If anyone liked the analogy, or if they had any other comments or questions, jump in on the Relevate community link on the screen. And we've got a business networking. So we had our 8-figure founder come along and talk about, business growth challenges, their experience, what not to do. And so we've got, sessions like that. We have regular networking meetups, and we solve challenges and problems. So if you're stuck on anything, you can ask the community, and, we've got a heap of guidance and advice. And of course, we bring that discussion onto the live stream as well. So if you've got something you want us to cover, let us know in the comments. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and you should definitely stay classy.